If you want to take a step beyond and live a self-determined life, what is the strongest question you can ask yourself, or if what you can ask to another person? Is it, where are you from? Or is it, who are you? Or is it, where do you want to go? I learned the answer to this question, which is the strongest question you can ask, when I was facing a life and death situation when I was in the mid of my 20s. And I learned 3 lessons that I want to share with you before we come back to this question. The first is, courage needs a voice, challenge yourself. I was studying at a private university, and the problem was, because my parents were not rich, that I needed 50,000 euro for my tuition. That was how I got my first bank loan. So I was studying, and during the first semester break, while my friends back home were enjoying life, I had to work. And this feeling that something like money or someone is pushing you to do something you actually do not want to do, that's what I didn't like. So I swore to myself, money will never ever be a problem again. And during a recruiting event, I was sitting in front of a guy from the automotive industry. He was telling me, it's very simple if you want to make a career. If you want to collect buttons, you have to work in the button industry. And if you want to collect cars, come join me and work in the automobile industry. And I took this clarity of this guy and made a third option. If you want to collect money, you have to work in the money industry. And that's what I did. I was self-employed and I was working in the private equity, focusing on small and medium-sized companies in Germany. And I was spending a lot of time with my success. So money came, but I felt like not really comfortable in this money industry, because money itself is not the best guide if you want to live a fulfilled life. Because money can lead you into, let's say, gray shaded areas where ethics and values are not that high level. It's more about money instead of values. So I was getting into this situation and I was questioning, what am I doing here? I was not liking my job, but I still continued working. Until one day, everything changed. I was visiting a doctor. It was just a routine check, but he did a little bit more than routine. He had no explanation why he was doing it. It was just an accident that he did it. But this saved my life. He was examining with ultrasound my thyroid, which is here in the neck, and then he showed me on the screen, look here, this is your thyroid, and this looks like cancer. And it really was cancer. So I had to go to surgery. I lost my thyroid, and then I needed to go to a second surgery because it was not already set yet. And this time, the risk of losing my voice was really, really high. And I was more afraid of losing my voice instead of facing death. So I went to the second surgery, and thank God I survived and my voice is still there. And while I was lying in my room in the hospital and I had some time alone before my wife was coming, visiting me, something very weird happened. I heard a voice. Nobody was in the room, so it was an inner voice, but it was not the daily blah blah we have in our head. It came from much more deep inside. And it asked me a very simple question. Do you want to live? I don't know if you ever ask yourself this question. When I was in the middle end of my 20s, I didn't. So it was a real, let's say, emotional moment for me to win against cancer and to answer this question, yes, I want to live. And then this voice continued. If you know that your lifetime is limited and you want to live, why do you waste your time? And this one made me speechless, because I didn't know. I was working in an industry I didn't like. It did not fulfill me. I didn't match with this industry. And then I saw what was the price I had to pay for my success. I had a wife who was freezing back home. I missed the toying around wildly time with my son. So to put it short, my whole life was an unintended mess. And then I learned courage needs a voice. The only guide for a self-determined life is your inner voice. So you do not need any books or gurus or seminars. You just have to learn to listen what your inner voice is really telling you. And this voice told me that I have to fight back for my family and to quit in the financial industry. Here you see my wife. So thank God she gave me a second chance. We are still married, and I still have a good relationship with my son. He's already 20 now, but the toying around wildly time, this time he does not want to do it anymore, so we do other stuff. And in 2009, I started not only a whole new career, I also started a completely whole new life. And this leads me to the second story I learned. Courage needs a voice. Challenge others. We all have this deep feeling of belonging. We want to be part of something bigger. Maybe your family, maybe this university, maybe your company you're working. We want to belong to other people. And sometimes it's too much of to want to belong. I call it I want to be liked virus. It's a mental virus, and this I want to be liked leads us to very weird behavior. We make false compromises, we do not say a word when we better should have, we do not act when we should have better done something and speak up. So this mental virus keeps us in our comfort zone instead of speaking up and take a step beyond. And I was giving a keynote at a symposium about courage, and after that a girl approached me, and she was young, a student, and she asked me, what shall I do? Fulfill the expectations of my parents and make a corporate career, or live my dream? I was confused by this question, so I didn't know any answer. I just asked back, do you know what your dream is? And she said, yes. I want to make a family and enjoy family life and start a working career later. So I told her, you already know what to do, so just do it. You know your direction, and the path will become clear as soon as you start walking. About 1 year later, I got an email from her. She said, I made my bachelor, I'm married, and I'm 4 months pregnant. She had to fight some conflicts with her family, but it was worth it. And she ended with a sentence which said, thank you that you pushed me. Without pushing me, I wouldn't have done it. And this gave me goosebumps because in her case, it wasn't, I want to be liked by my parents, which holded her back. And she had the courage to step up and find her own way. And this is really important if you want to push people to understand something what Colin Powell put in words I really like. Taking responsibility sometimes means pissing people off. So when you push other people, they don't like you for that. But you are the one, by pushing them, who brings them on a new level. So it's not being nice and friendly to bring people to another level, to make them take a step beyond. It's being nicely uncomfortable, pushing them, although they might not really like you for that. So get rid of this I want to be liked virus. And one day, everybody of us will be in a situation where it's the greatest sin of all to remain silent, to not say a word, to not act. And you do not want to regret that you did not have the courage to speak up when you really had to. And this leads me to the third story, Courage Needs a Voice, Challenge the World. Technology is changing our world, and not only our world, it also changes us. Take social media, for example. We are all online addicts, spending so much time on social media. And now imagine smart people with very well educated, they spend their whole career in a social media company just to optimize their algorithm to make us addicts, to spend as much time as possible on their social media platform and to click as much advertisement as possible. What a waste of lifetime. There are so many more opportunities to make this world a better place, but we lack another mental virus, and this is the input virus. So being busy in our today's world is much more important than being productive. For example, sitting is the new smoking, so it's dangerous to sit all the time. And imagine you're sitting too much and you have a pain in your back. So you go to visit a chiropractor to help you. And he examines you for 2 minutes, and then he sees where the cause of your pain is. And he grabs you from behind and cracks you. 3 minutes later, he says, well, you're done, you can go. Please pay me the whole hour, 100 euro. Does this happen? So you pay for 1 hour, although you just stayed there for 6 minutes? Of course not. After those 6 minutes, he's massaging you a little bit just to be busy, just to spend the whole hour with you, although the last massage, the last 54 minutes, do not really help you. This is input virus. Or take working hours. If you have a contract, a working contract, it says you have to work for 8 hours. But what is that when you're done with your work after 4 hours? Do you go home, or do you have to stay and do just crappy stuff in order to fulfill those 8 hours? So all this is input virus, and this is really dangerous because it's not about being busy. It's much more about doing the right thing, becoming clear what you want to achieve in life. What is your primary goal? And then the good news is, when you take some time to think, there's always a shortcut. But it needs some time to think, and you have to be really clear about what you really want to achieve in life. And if I take all those 3 lessons, courage needs a voice, and I want to summarize it, what is the most important part? What gave me energy and motivation when I was facing life and death, when I had the cancer, to continue? What gives me motivation when it's difficult, when I was in my new business and starting all over again? It's something which is very deep inside of us. And when we look back in human history, 200,000 years back there, we all were nomads. We were moving all the time. We were not staying at one place. And if you're a nomad, you need orientation. And this is something I call the horizon. So what is your horizon? What is in there which attracts you to move in this direction? Because if you have no clarity about where you want to go in life, we tend to take over foreign clarity. Religion is a foreign clarity. Soccer, fitness, healthcare, all that stuff. All these are foreign clarities. It's not your real own horizon. It's something being offered by other people. But what is your inner voice telling you? Where do you want to go? And coming back to the strongest question you can ask, where do you come from? Which reflects about the past. It's already over. Who are you? Which is kind of interesting, but we cannot change it quickly, so it's almost past as well. The only question where you can shape something is, where do you want to go? And this is the strongest question. And you only need 2 things, and it's all about your voice. The first one is your inner voice. Listen to it. It's not only the best guide for your self-determined life, it's the only guide. And once you're clear about where you want to go, you need to have the guts to speak up. So it's your normal voice, your speaking voice, to speak up and fight for your direction, for your goals. But if it's like that, a horizon would make this world maybe selfish and everybody has his own goals. So there's one last level above. And this is another simple question. It's part of teenager life, and a lot of adults out there are still in teenager mode, and they ask the question, what can the world do for me? And this must end, So in order to have a horizon which not only fulfills you, but also helps you to take a step beyond and make this world a better place, you have to twist that question around and ask yourself, what can you do for the world? And I think this is an idea worth spreading.